Thanks, Felicia. So today's class, we are going to be learning about drawing in perspective, and there is a PDF that goes along with this class. So Felicia's going to drop it into the chat. And if you're not able to print it out now, you can just follow along with what I'm doing. But if you're someone who kind of needs to see something a little bit more up close in person, it might be a good way for you to kind of follow along. And even after this class is over, to kind of give you a reference point to keep coming back to. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about vanishing points. We're going to be making drawings in perspective. We're going to be kind of focusing on like interior design kind of things. So you can think about it as drafting. You can think about it as decorating. You can think about it mathematically, or you can think about it artistically. We're going to kind of put all of those things together. So if you don't know, I have a math background. I actually was a classroom math teacher, middle school and high school for about 17 years. So this is actually a project that I used to do with high school geometry students to like teach them about perspective and vanishing points and horizons and different things like that, and kind of how these different shapes will look according to your perspective. So we are going to be diving in, and really what you're going to need today is going to be a ruler, an eraser, pencils, and paper. So I did suggest specific things, but if you have any kind of plain paper, I'm going to be using a artist loft tablet or pad of paper, kind of sketchbook sort of situation. I'll be ripping pages out of that. If you don't have a sketchbook and you just want to work on plain paper, it will work exactly the same. Any kind of ruler will do. The more you get into it, the more you might want something a little bit more precise, a little clearer. We'll kind of talk about that as we go. Definitely some kind of eraser and some kind of pencil. I'll be using some of the Artist Loft drawing pencils, but again, if you just want to use a mechanical pencil or anything that you happen to have nearby, you're welcome to do that as well. And then maybe if you start getting into this, you might want to upgrade to these nicer drawing pencils that can do some extra shading and some different things with them as well. So let's switch over to the other camera and I'll show you kind of what's going on over here. So here's my finished project that I was drawing the other day. So this right here is my vanishing point. So you'll notice that lines that are parallel to each other in real life end up merging together towards that vanishing point. So we're going to be talking a lot about parallel lines and perpendicular lines. And just to refresh your high school, grade school math memory, a perpendicular line is something that forms a 90-degree angle. So if I put these two pencils down exactly at 90 degrees, those are perpendicular to each other. Whereas if I have two lines that never cross each other, those are called parallel lines. And there's also something called skew lines, which is like this. So it looks like they intersect, but honestly, if I turn them like this, they never intersect, but they're not parallel either because they're actually on two different planes. So I know I'm math nerding out right now, so don't tune me out. I'm sorry, I can't help myself, but it will be also focused on this art and this drawing portion too. So what I like about this project as well is that some of my math students in the past who didn't like math really like digging into this. And then some people like myself who feel like I'm not very good at drawing. That's what I tell myself at least. But when I do it in kind of a formulaic way or with the ruler, hey, that's not a bad drawing. I think I'm proud of that. So it's kind of an entry point for drawing for people that are a little bit more math brained, or those of you who already have that artistic brain can kind of take a different perspective. So let's go ahead and begin by, if you have a drawing pad of some kind, go ahead and rip out a page. And we're going to do something that I like to call super shapes. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is a vanishing point. And so anywhere on your piece of paper, go ahead and draw a vanishing point. And I'm going to be using a ruler, and I'm always going to be attaching all of my lines back to that vanishing point. So then somewhere in the space of my paper, I'm going to draw a shape. And one of the easiest shapes for me to draw is a triangle. So you can make your triangle isosceles, equilateral, scalene. I'm going to try not to math it, but I can't help myself. So make any kind of triangle you want to. You can trace it if you have any kind of little templates or stencils that do shapes, you can trace it, or just move your ruler around to make the three-sided triangle. And then this triangle has these 3 points. So the first rule of kind of vanishing point is that everything goes towards this vanishing point. So what that means is we're going to draw these perspective guides by connecting each one of these 3 points back to the vanishing point. So these lines that I'm drawing right now, you can draw them nice and light. I'll try and draw them a little darker on purpose because I want you to be able to see them. But since you're doing it on your paper, eventually you'll erase these. So go ahead and draw it a little bit light so that it erases better. But you're going to take each one of the 3 points of your triangle shape, and you're going to move all 3 of those points back towards the vanishing point. And the reason why I call this activity super shapes is because to me, this looks like a triangle is like, da, 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 I'm a triangle. Like it's a super triangle. Thank you, Jeanette. I appreciate the audience participation. But yeah, it looks like a super shape because now it has dimension. It has this 3-dimensional kind of feel to it. It's popping off my page as opposed to just a boring old triangle. So let's try it again where we move off to the side anywhere you want to on your paper. It can be above, below that vanishing point, wherever you want to. And I'm going to make a different shape. So this time I'm going to make some kind of rectangle. And you do not have to do the exact same kind of rectangle as me. You can make yours bigger, smaller, however you want it to be. And then once I have a new shape, I'm also going to make this shape 3D or kind of pop off my page or come towards me by using that vanishing point again. So you can imagine that I'm going to go back to each one of these 4 corners and kind of define that point right there. And then take my ruler, and you're going to make each one of those lines go back towards that vanishing point. And now you have a super rectangle, not just a regular rectangle. So it's popping off of my screen for sure. So feel free to ask questions in the chat. Let me know if you want me to go slower, if you need me to repeat anything, I'm happy to do that. But what we just did here was we're kind of showing how both of these are going in perspective. So if this was not just a rectangle, if this was a 3-dimensional object like a box, and you were trying to draw a box inside of a bedroom or something like that, you don't want it to be flat. You want it to actually have the particular perspective. So what we would do next to keep making this shape into a box is we're going to take this top line and we're going to add another line further down. So here are 2 parallel lines. So these don't look like parallel lines, but that's because we're going towards a vanishing point. But in real life, the top of the box, those 2 lines are parallel to each other. So what we want to do is we want to make another line parallel to this one in order to kind of finish off the top of the box. So I'm matching my ruler up along with the top of my rectangle. And then I'm going to move my ruler up carefully. There are more precise ways to do this, but this is what I'm doing right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw that line here. And this line is exactly parallel to this line. And so you can already see how our box is really starting to form. But you probably also see that we're missing a side, right? We're missing the side on my paper over here to the left. So the way that you finish this off is you don't just go ahead and put the line wherever you want to. What you end up doing is you end up making a perpendicular line, which is a 90-degree angle. So there's lots of ways for you to try and draw a perpendicular line. One way, and some way that I usually show my students, kind of a cheat, is we know the corner of an index card or a piece of paper is a 90-degree angle. So you can always line up one side and then you'll have the other side to help you make that 90-degree angle. You can also use your ruler, and you know that the bottom of your paper is going to form a 90-degree angle if you lay your card nice and straight. So that's another way for you to get that perfect perpendicular angle. But I was able to add in that angle, and now you can actually kind of see that 3D shape. And it looks a lot better. Now, if we wanted to actually work with this one and keep going with this shape, people don't need to see inside of the shape because maybe the shape is solid. So then what I would do next is with my eraser, I would go back in and I would erase the horizon lines or those perspective lines that would actually be hidden if this box was not in fact see-through, if this box were solid. So I erased this line here and this line here, and you can keep kind of going back and erasing it better and better, just to give that more of a solid feel to it. Whereas if you leave the other one, so to finish off my triangle, to make that three-dimensional, I need to find another line down here to make it like a tent or like a big wedge of cheese or something like that. So I'm using this line right here, and I'm going to make a line a little further down that's parallel to that. Right now, this is a see-through kind of like tent. It looks like a tent to me. Triangular prism if you wanted to know what it was, but you might not want to know. So then this, I could erase those lines too and make it solid, or I could add in more lines and just go with it as a see-through thing also. So you can kind of decide if you want it to be see-through or if you want it to be solid. You can also do some shading. So maybe the front of your shape ends up getting colored so that that shows that that's the closest side to you. And the rest of it, maybe I would erase this line because you're not going to see inside of there. And you can kind of play around with some of your shading, with some of your different lines to kind of give it different feels all the way around. So I hope you're feeling okay so far with what we're doing. We've done some super shapes where we've taken this 1-point perspective and everything is going towards that 1 point, which means the closer it gets to the point, the smaller the object's going to get. And the further away from the point, the larger the objects are going to be in order to keep it in perspective and make it look like our picture has that three-dimensional depth. So what we're going to do next is we actually are going to kind of make a room together. And so I have some basic design elements that we're going to kind of work with together. So we're going to make a room, which means we're going to have a back wall. And then it's kind of like the inside of a shoebox, if you can imagine that. So we're going to have a back wall. We're going to have these lines, and then we're going to put some objects in this room. Here's the floor of my room. Here's the back wall of my room. Here are the side walls of my room and the ceiling. We're going to put some objects in and see what they look like in this room using those different dimensions. So eventually, I'm going to show you how to draw a table. I'm going to show you how to draw some windows and some doors. So we're going to start with this back wall and have a floor, and then we're going to throw a table in, throw a window, a door. And then once you have a couple of ideas of how to work with some of these design elements, then you can really go crazy and add some of your other things. So maybe you don't want to do a kitchen. Maybe you want to do a bedroom. And so maybe you're going to add a rectangle over here that ends up looking like a bed, or maybe it's a living room with a couch. But you can use a lot of these same ideas to kind of design your own room using the same idea of this perspective drawing. So I think we are ready to move on. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a clean page, and we're actually going to need 2 pieces of paper because one of them I'm going to show you how to fold up, and the other one we're going to use to actually do our drawing on. So I'm going to help you avoid some measuring. You're welcome. Don't tell my former students, but I'm going to help teach you how to avoid some measuring. The whole idea is on this piece of paper, my paper is 9 by 12 inches. A normal piece of typing paper is 8.5 by 11, but you're trying to find the center of your piece of paper, and then you're trying to draw perfectly straight lines. So we're going to do some folding that's going to help us. So I'm going to take the exact same size piece of paper, and I'm going to fold it in half. I call this hamburger style. I don't know why, that's just what I do. So you fold it in half one way. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to fold it in half hot dog style. So by folding in half both of these different directions, you have officially found the center of your piece of paper. So you can put a nice little dot in there if you'd like. So on our real piece of paper, we're going to transfer that center, and we're going to have the center of this piece of paper without doing any of the folding. So we won't have those folding lines on our final drawing, but we will have the benefit of the folding doing the finding the middle for us. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my right-hand side of my paper, but you didn't think this was gonna be origami too, huh? But I'm gonna take the right-hand side of my paper and I'm gonna fold it towards the center. So I took the right-hand side and folded it to the center line. I'm gonna take the left-hand side and I'm gonna fold it to the center line. And what we're doing right now with these folds is we're making that back wall on our design. So we're gonna make a really nice back wall rectangle. So since you've done the right side and the left side, then I open it back up and I'm gonna fold from the bottom to the center. And I'm gonna fold from the top to the center. And I'm going to have a really nice rectangle in there. And you don't have to do this, but I'm just gonna draw it so that you can see. Since my paper is white, it might be hard to see. So I'm using a ruler to trace over that line. You don't have to do this. This is just something I'm gonna do to show you. And this rectangle right here is the back wall of our drawing. And this is the center of our drawing. So now that we have all these folds are gonna help us transfer those lines onto this piece of paper that's gonna be our final drawing. So what I'm gonna do for my center point is I'm actually gonna poke my pencil through the center point, and then I'm going to line up my paper very carefully on top of my finished or my final piece I'm using, and just go ahead and draw that dot through that hole that I just made. So you just transferred the center point exactly. And then I'm gonna fold down that top line, and notice how I still have it nice and even with the bottom of my new piece of paper. And I'm gonna use this folded line as a ruler, and I'm gonna go ahead and draw in that line that goes across. So I folded the top fold down. I drew a line across, and remember I'm making the back wall rectangle. So now I'm gonna fold in the right side of my paper. And I don't need to go over the whole piece of paper because I know where the top is now that this line is here. So I'm just gonna draw to about where the rectangle is gonna be. So from here to here, I just drew. Then I'm gonna go ahead and fold up the bottom, and I'm going all the way around that rectangle in order to make a nice crisp rectangle on my fresh sheet of paper. And I'm folding over the last side and connecting that together. So I've used the folded sheet of paper. I've folded each piece individually and drawn lines. And each of those lines is helping me draw that back wall that I want for my drawing. Now I don't need a line back here, so I am gonna do a little bit of erasing, but you can wait until the very end to erase if you want to as well. It's not hurting anything. So this is what I have so far. I have the perspective dot, the vanishing point in the middle, and I have the back wall rectangle. And hopefully you're there with me. And then what we're going to do next, so on our PDF, we just drew the rectangle. And we drew the rectangle by doing a little bit of a tricky folding situation just to make it easier on us. Now we're gonna draw lines from each of the corners, and those lines should go perfectly through the middle. So I'm gonna use one of my longer rulers. And I'm gonna go from the corner of my paper to the other corner of my paper. And I'm gonna make sure that I go through, I might need to rip this off. There we go. And I'm gonna draw a straight line through the center. It should perfectly go through the corner of the back wall. and it should go through the center and then go all the way across and down to the corner of the other side of the piece of paper. If it's not perfect, it should still be okay, but the straighter you can get it, the better. I know, I think the folding technique just speeds things up. Don't want you to get bogged down in the beginning part. So now I'm connecting from the other corner side of the paper and going through the corner of my back wall. So what we have right here is we have the vanishing point. So in real life, this down here is the floor. The two sides of the floor are technically like a rectangle. They're parallel to each other, but because of the perspective we're looking at it, the lines would eventually cross. Over here are our two walls. So we're gonna put a door on one side and we're gonna put a window on another side. This is gonna be the ceiling part up here. So anything we put on the ceiling, we can match towards that vanishing point as well. So I think this is going pretty well so far. I hope it's going well for you too. If you're following along on our paper, the next thing we're gonna do is add a door. So I'm gonna add a door on the left-hand side. And the way that I'm gonna add a door is I'm gonna decide how high on this wall do I want this door to go? And how wide do I want that door to go? So one way of doing this, there's lots of ways of doing this, but one way of doing this is by taking your vanishing point and taking your ruler and kind of drawing a line. So this is the line of the door. Once you have this top line, I like how high it is from my ceiling. And then I can decide how wide I want the doorway to be. And what I'm gonna do with that line is I'm going to decide how long, and then I'm gonna drop two lines that are gonna be parallel to each other and perpendicular to the bottom of my paper. So I'm gonna decide that my door is gonna be about 2 inches. So I'm gonna put the beginning and the end of my door. I'm kind of marking those little tick marks. And then I'm going to drop these lines straight down here. And here. Can you post the diagram I just showed in the chat? Yep. Felicia can throw that back in there for you to grab. It's just kind of showing the step-by-step. So again, you can try this again another time when you design another room. So here's a doorway. And this line that goes back to the vanishing point was helping us determine what angle that doorway was coming at. So now that we have that, we can technically erase that. And then I just like to sometimes go over these lines and make them a little bit thicker. So I'm going to use my ruler, but the point of what I'm doing right now is just to make these lines a little thicker and darker, the ones that I'm going to keep. And then eventually I'm going to erase the other ones. But I want you to be able to see the doorway that I just made. There we go. So it's a pretty wide doorway, but it's nice maybe going into another room or something like that. Or if you wanted to, you could turn that into a front door. And then on the other side of the paper, I'm going to go ahead and add a window. So I don't want my window to go all the way down to the floor, and I don't want it to touch the top of the ceiling. So I want the window to be somewhere in the middle. And I can use 2 different vanishing points lines to kind of give me that perspective there. So I'm going to just kind of draw 2 light lines to kind of see if I like the width of that or if I like the placement of that. So I drew my lines pretty light on purpose to kind of figure out if I like them or not. And then if I do like them, I can drop these parallel lines down and kind of make the sides of that window. So when you're dropping your parallels down, you might see me trying to check in with one of the lines on my ruler. If you have fancier rulers that might have like grids on them, if you line up the lines on the ruler, then you can predict and you can guarantee that the lines right here that I'm drawing are going to be perfectly parallel. You can also, like I said before, kind of use index cards to help you. So if I have this index card lined up along the bottom line of my door or of my room, then that can help me keep a nice straight parallel line up here when I'm drawing it. So I'm going to draw in the side of one of my windows. So I just drew that parallel line down to kind of end the window. And then I'm going to move over again and draw another parallel line over here. To draw the other edge of the window. And I can go through with my eraser and kind of take away the different parts I might not necessarily want. And I can also go back and make these lines thicker. Felicia, I think you saw that they wanted to see the PDF in the chat again. I think you got that.
I was trying to verify, was it that they wanted the PDF or wanted you to show it? That's why I wanted to
Oh,
make.
good question. I don't.
So if you could clarify your question as far as the diagram, I could
Yeah.
definitely put it, I'm going to put it in the back in the chat.
Okay.
Um,
She says the PDF.
yes, I will do that right now.
Perfect. Thank you. We are here to help. So now we have a door and we have a window in this room. And what I like about this was I did not have to think too hard to make those lines perfect. And I promise if I was trying to draw this on my own, I never would have thought that the window line should go that direction. So using this ruler and continuing to like go back to that is a really nice way to make sure that it is in the correct perspective. It's all going back to that same point. So we got a door, we have a window, and the next thing we're going to add is a table. So in order for us to add a table, we first want to know how long or we want the top of our table to be. So I'm going to pick a table length and I am going to, let's see here. I'm just kind of drawing a light line. I'm going to decide how wide. Your table doesn't have to be perfectly in the center, but I think I am going to purposely put my table in the center of my room. So another question says, does the window have to match the top of the door? And no, it doesn't. So your window could be smaller. It doesn't have to match that at all. But what it does need to match up to is the vanishing point. Great question. So I'm back to my table and here's another little trick that I've learned over the years. So I'm going to take this index card and I'm going to fold it in half to find the center. And then I'm going to open it back up to find the center of my table. And I'm going to pick a length. Again, you can pick whatever you want to, but I'm going to do about 2 inches of table. So from here to here is going to be the top part of my table. So really all you need to start your table is above the floor where the back wall meets the floor. Parallel to that line, draw a length of whatever width you want your table to be. And then we're about to take the 2 sides of that table and we're going to connect them to the vanishing point and draw lines that go further out to decide how deep we want that table to be. So now I'm going to the vanishing point with my ruler and I'm lightly drawing kind of those perspective lines as guides. There we go. And then you get to decide how wide you want your table to be or how deep you want your table to be. So the next line to close off your table needs to be parallel to the floor and parallel to that original line. So you can decide how far down you want it to be. And then just draw in that parallel line. So this is how deep my table is right now, but yours can be however you want it to be. I'm going to go over the basic. It's a rectangle, even though on my paper it doesn't look like a rectangle. But in real life, it's a rectangle. It just happens to be going in this perspective that makes those lines look like they're going to cross each other because they're vanishing towards that same part. And I am going to go ahead and erase the line that you can see through my table because my table is solid. It is not going to be see-through. So you're not going to be able to see that line behind it. And then of course you're probably thinking this table needs some legs, otherwise it's floating in space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw legs, and my legs are all going to be lines that drop down perpendicular to the bottom of the paper. And no matter where they are, they're going to be the same length. So if I make this front leg 1 inch when I drop it down, then when I make my back table leg, from the point that it's at, I also need to drop it 1 inch. But see how on this one, because we have a solid table, you're not going to end up being able to see that leg. If the legs of my table were even longer, you might see a little bit of it poking out, but due to the perspective, you might not see those back legs. So if you decide that your legs are all 1 inch, then you need to make all 4 of your legs 1 inch. And all 4 of those legs should be perpendicular to the bottom of your paper. And you can make them longer than 1 inch if you want a higher table or if you want a bar or something different. And for me, since I can't see those legs, I am going to go ahead and erase them. But if you can see your legs, then make sure that you show the part that comes through the top of the table. And I'm going to go back with my ruler and just kind of make those lines a little bit darker again and a little bit thicker. And I'm going to make the 2 legs that I can see a little bit thicker as well. Now, if you want to be even fancier with your table, you might notice in this picture that I made the lip of my table that dark, and I made it thicker than just a line because I wanted to show kind of the thickness of the wood of the table. And so in order to show that this table is not just a piece of glass, that it actually has some thickness, you might want to draw another line underneath it that's parallel. And then that's showing me how thick that table is. And if you want these legs to be a little thicker, you can also draw those purposely thicker as well. So we are doing well. So far, we have made our back wall. We have made a door, a window, a table. And then the next thing I'd like to show you how to do is to do some flooring in perspective. So you can do some flooring that's going to maybe look like wood flooring with these lines. Maybe they're solid lines and you break them into little pieces of kind of like wood flooring. Or you could also use kind of like a tile flooring like the one I have. Felicia and I were talking about before, if I made that black and white, it could be like a really fun diner kind of feel for you. So that's the next thing we're going to do. And in order to do those pieces of flooring, we're going to take the floor line. So the floor line for me goes through our table. It's right down here at the bottom of our original rectangle. And I'm going to measure it either using inches or centimeters, whatever you feel good about. I'm right now looking at centimeters. And the rectangle I have, because I have a 9 by 12 inch paper, is about 15 centimeters. So I'm going to think about how I want to break those slices of wood up. I don't know yet what I want to do. 8, 3, 2, 4. I think if I go by twos, so I'm going to go every 2 centimeters and I'm going to make a tick mark. And the reason why I picked 2 centimeters was because I knew 16 was an even number and I knew that I wouldn't get any like half blocks or anything like that. So if your width of your floor line is something that's odd instead of even, you might not want to use 2, you might want to use 3 if that works for you. So I went every 2 centimeters and I made a tick mark. And then I'm going to go back to those tick marks and I'm going to attach them to the vanishing point. And I'm going to draw a line from the vanishing point all the way down to the bottom of my paper to show where that's going to end. So these can be kind of light because you might end up erasing some of these later. But I'm drawing from the vanishing point through the tick mark, and it's creating some lines on the floor of my drawing. From the vanishing point through the tick mark, all the way to the end of the paper, all the way off the edge of the paper. I'm going through the table because I know I can erase this. That's why it's pencil. And now I have laid some floorboards down. And my floorboards, notice how they're really, they're the 2 centimeters at the floor, but when you go all the way towards the bottom, they look a lot bigger, and they are a lot bigger than 2 centimeters. And that's all because of that perspective, since everything's.
Hey, Megan, can you hear me? Megan? Hold on, everyone. I see that her main screen has paused. Give us just a moment. We'll get this taken care of. Just a moment.
Can you hear me now, Felicia?
I can. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Felicia, are you still with me?
I am. Can you hear me?
Ha ha. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Yay. Okay. We'll just
Awesome.
switch to this view.
Thank you.
Sorry for that, everyone. Okay, let me get this centered again. Yep. All right, so where we left off was we were talking about the floorboards that you've just kind of drawn down here. And so you can decide if you want those to be thinner, then instead of doing 2 centimeters, maybe you want to do every 1 centimeter. So if you want them to be thinner, go back to your original floor line, and that's going to help you change things. Don't try to change them down here. Try and change them at that original floor line.
Recording in progress.
Think I'm going. Are you okay hearing me now without an echo?
Yes, I think what
Okay,
it
good.
is that your other camera reconnected.
Got it. All right, so now I can see what I'm doing. So you have your floorboards and they're a certain width. If you want them thinner, you can. If you want to turn them into a checkerboard, what you're going to do, this is kind of weird, but along this line, like let's say this line where the door is, I would measure every 2 centimeters along this sideline. So the reason why I'm doing 2 centimeters is because I want these to be squares. And so when I make these squares, they're not going to look like squares on my paper because of the perspective. But by doing the 2 centimeter measurements down the side, that's what's going to help keep these looking like they're squares in perspective with the rest of my drawing. And once you get your floor to be kind of where you want it to be, you can start erasing some of the other lines we just used to help us keep the perspective. And then we're getting closer to kind of our stopping point. We'll talk a little bit more, but what I like to do once I kind of have some of my design elements in here is I like to go back with either a black, you can use lots of different things. I love flare tip pens. You can use a flare tip pen and you can just really draw over everything that that you want to keep, and then you can erase all the rest. You can use a fine line Sharpie. You can use lots of different pens. You can use an Artist Loft kind of black illustration pen and just use those pens to ink in the things you want to keep. And then when you erase slightly after the ink's dried, you can just leave that ink. This is not a Xerox copy. This is actually me just inking and erasing everything. So this was actually my real paper that I made all those lines on. I was just able to erase all those lines really nicely and also make the rest of my design really nice and thick with those black lines that it ended up looking really nice. So I see so many of you that are playing along with us today, and I hope that if you want to, or if you have Instagram, I'd love to see what you're doing. You can tag us at Learn with Michaels. You can also look at my personal Instagram, which is 4M Coleman. You can kind of see some of the other drawings and different classes and things that I've been doing. This has been fun. So I also, when I decorate my room, I love decorating on the back wall because this is like a little cheat right here. This back wall doesn't have to be in perspective because it's the back wall, right? If I try and draw a painting on one of these side walls, you're going to have to draw your painting really wonky in order for it to go back to that perspective point. So like the trick is decorate this back wall like crazy because you don't have to do anything special to it. It's exactly where it needs to be in perfect perspective. So I added 3 little pieces of canvas that have some nice textured wall art designs on the back of my wall. I also added a cute little pot or plant. It's easy to add a shelf just by putting a little rectangle in there. You can also go back and things like your doorway. Maybe you don't want your doorway to look so rigid. So maybe you will go back to the corners and you kind of round out those corners. And so maybe it's going to have a little bit of a softer feel to it than those straight lines and those straight points. So I don't have a website, but I do have an Instagram at 4M Coleman. So you're welcome to go to that and kind of check out some of the other things I've been up to. Also with this window, or if you want this to be an archway instead of a solid door, you can do that. So really just play with your different lines that you already have. If you want to break this window into different portions, if you want to add some blinds, you can add some blinds or some curtains. So there's lots of fun things. I love a black and white drawing, but if you want to go crazy, I recommend colored pencils, probably over anything else. Colored pencils will be the best for this if you want to add pops of color. So you can imagine that people can use these kind of like drafts when you're doing some architectural studies and things like this. I love it for the idea of planning out a kid's bedroom or planning out your college dorm room, what it's going to look like, kind of stacking some different ideas up and kind of seeing if you like it. Of course, there are ways to do it on the computers and things that are much faster, but I love an old-fashioned picture. I just think it's nice. So someone's asking about an archway. So with this archway, I'm just going to kind of play with what's already here. And I'm going in and adding some of these curves. And then maybe I take away that top part in order for that to be an archway instead of a solid door frame. I kind of like that idea. That's nice. Good question. So does the curve come down at the same point on each side? Not necessarily. So your curve, if you want to do it exactly precise, needs to be parallel to this line. So if I would have drawn myself a nice parallel line to that, then my curve should actually probably be more from here to here. So with that line in mind, and this being the center, this would be a better perspective for my curve. Thanks for asking. That helped me too. So the points that the curve comes down to are parallel to the top of the door frame. Nice. Well, I'm going to spend some more time. We got about 10 more minutes together, and I would happily answer questions. So somebody asked, would using graph paper help or be more of a problem? That is a great question. I think it would help for the original setup, but I think the folding honestly is easier than even graph paper and counting all the little squares and making sure that you're doing the same thing. So I don't think graph paper would help. I think it might hurt more than it helps because it's not quite going on the same lines. If there's other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to keep playing with my design and keep erasing the things that aren't going to show and kind of go through with one of my darker lines to make one of my darker markers to make everything else kind of stand out differently. And if you're interested in other kinds of classes, tomorrow I'll be teaching a dyeing class where I use RIT dye, and I'm going to drop some wood, different wood surfaces into RIT dye. So this is a marigold color RIT dye. And then once I have the surfaces done, I go back with paint pens and kind of decorate. I love this little butterfly. This is so cute. So this is another class that I'm teaching tomorrow that you're welcome to find and join us. So another question's asking, when someone is painting, say, a bench or a chair, how do you ground them so they don't look like they're floating away? Great question. So basically, a bench or a chair is the same as this kitchen table. Imagine just putting another rectangle back here and you have a chair, right? So think about that I think the floating away part has to do with the legs, making sure that you make the legs long enough to actually be touching on the floor section of your paper. I think that's important. But really, a chair at the end of the day, it's just going to be this rectangle, whatever size. If it's a couch, maybe it's a little thinner and longer. And then maybe you can go back and kind of, like we were doing before, add more of a curve to it, especially for a couch. I think one of these papers, I was kind of playing around with the refrigerator that I was drawing. I don't know why. I was probably hungry. Oh, here it is. So I was kind of playing around with that rectangle becoming a refrigerator, and see how this refrigerator kind of has depth to it, and it's going back towards that vanishing point. Made a little drawer for all of my frozen goods. You'll also see on this one that I went a little bit crazier and made a big window sill. So with this window sill, I would keep the lines parallel to the ones that are already there to make that kind of thickness in there. You'll also notice I made a much longer table and pulled that not directly in the center, but kind of put it off to the side. So someone asked, would any of this be different if using paint instead of pencils? I'm trying to think. I don't think so, because I think with paint, I think you could still keep going over it, and erasing would look different with paint, but I think you could still do it very similarly. So the sill looks like things would fall off of it. Yes, this is for decoration purposes only. For sure. You're right. That sill would just, maybe I'll have some plants kind of lingering coming down that way. But yeah, I would love to see where this adventure takes you. So we just learned about the walls, we learned about a door, a window, and a table. And honestly, those pieces can really help you create lots of different things. So use your imagination. Think of how you can turn those rectangular shapes into lots of different shapes, to a bed, to a bookshelf, to a TV, to a comforter, to whatever you want them to be. So what if the table were closer to the window, maybe in front of the window? So if the table were closer to the window, maybe in front of that, yeah, that would definitely work too, to catch some of that. All right, I see so many of you working, and if you can some way share those with us, I would love to see what you're working on. I think this is going to be a really fun show and tell. So I bet your imaginations are running wild right now. Oh, Deb, you're showing us. Okay, I want to be able to see it. Lovely. Yes, that table looks great. Look at your tiny little lines. That's a lot of work on those. Great job. Anyone else care to hold up and share? If I'm missing you, let me know. Anyone else feeling brave? Summer, are you feeling brave? Yes. Okay, I can't quite see it yet. Oh, nice. I love your window shade. Oh, I love that. Yes, good work. Awesome. This, okay, I see a table. Nice. Those floorboards look nice. If you choose to leave your floorboards like the floorboards, I would probably like every once in a while put a little line in order to like make it look like pieces of wood, because I don't think you'd have really long pieces all the way down. Alana, are you getting ready to show us? If you want to, you don't have to. Oh, Maria's showing us. Oh, nice, cute. Thank you. Wow, I'm impressed. It's amazing what a pencil and a ruler can do, huh? Kathy showing. Cool. Oh, Patty, yes, that table looks nice. I'm having a hard time seeing Kathy's. Thank you so much for sharing. That is awesome. Well, hey, with one hour session, look at what you were able to do. So imagine if you keep practicing this, all the different shapes that you're going to be able to do and all the different designs you're going to be able to wow everyone with. So thank you so much for coming today. My name is Megan. It still is Megan. I'm really glad that you joined me today. I hope that you come. I teach classes on Thursday and Fridays online, so you're always welcome to come. Ginger, I thought I saw you peeking one. Did you? No, okay, not today. That's okay. So thank you so much for coming. And I hope if you want to watch this class again, it will be on YouTube tomorrow. And then you can see all the different things. So enjoy your week. I'll see you again soon. You're welcome. Bye-bye.